I'm Bex from Social Media Executive, and today I'm going to be talking about how often should we be posting on social media. Oh, hi Rachel, thanks for saying hello. So I'm going to be talking about each of the different social media platforms and how often we should be posting on Instagram, how often we should be posting on Facebook, or how often we should be posting on LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, Google, and TikTok. So I'm going to be covering all those platforms. Oh, hi, Alex. Thanks for saying hello. I'm going on a walk with Alex today. She'll have me on her phone, so thanks for saying hi. Again, if you are watching, please do say hello, ask any questions in the chat, and do give this video a thumbs up as well. Okay, so frequency of posting on social media. It's not actually as simple as it seems. And yet, this is one of the most common questions I get in the Social Flock, my content support group. So today I'm just going to run through each one, and it's not very simple. It's not as simple as it seems because there are a number of factors that you need to take into consideration. And one of the main ones you need to think about is that if I said to you all, right, you need to be posting 5 times a week on Facebook, and everybody across the world started posting 5 times a week on Facebook, then it would become much more competitive. And the algorithms, the Facebook rules, the little robots would actually go, oh, everyone's posting at this frequency. We're going to change the frequency. So that's the thing about social media. The algorithms, the little robots that make up all the rules, constantly change to improve user experience. And the minute someone jumps on the bandwagon and everybody follows suit, that's when they start mixing it up. Because if everybody did the same, social media would be quite boring and a little bit saturated. Okay. So the first things I want you to think about is one, your time. How long have you got available to create social media content? Now, some platforms take longer to create content than others. If you're looking at TikTok, you've got to be creating regular content. And again, I'll tell you how often you should be posting on TikTok, but that might take longer than, say, a little tweet on Twitter. Okay, so you really need to think about how much time you have realistically got to be posting on social media. Okay, you also need to think about the size of your audience as well. You will find that organizations that have a large following, like hundreds of thousands of followers, can actually get away with posting more frequently than those of us that might have a smaller following. Certainly if you've got 100, less than 100 followers, you certainly don't want to be posting 10 times a day, because that's probably going to bore them to tears, unless you've got fantastic content, obviously. Okay. Best practice does change as well. I did this live stream a couple of years ago, and what I'm going to be telling you today is different to what I was telling you 2 years ago. So it does constantly change. So what I tell you today may not be relevant in 2 years' time. So you've also got to constantly be updating your strategy. Okay. And also it depends on your content. We're going to be talking a little bit about content, but it depends on your content. Because if you're posting content constantly, and I say, right, you've got to post, 3 times a week on Instagram, but those posts are really salesy and they're not very interesting and they're not getting much engagement, then actually it's not going to do anything for you. Okay, so you've really got to think about what content you're posting out there, and that's where the Social Flock comes in. That's where we help each other with content ideas and inspiration. So you've got to mix things up. Okay, so it's always quality over quantity, apart from one exception, which I'll be talking about in a minute. But generally speaking, quality over quantity should always win. Don't post for the sake of posting. Okay, that's really important. Think about your audience. What do they want to see? And really think about how you can create engaging and inspiring content. Okay. It also depends how old your account is as well. Account, not accountant. How old your account is. So if you've got an old account and you've got lots of followers and you just need to reinvigorate the engagement, then it's a slightly different strategy to those when you've just launched your new platform and you're trying to grow your followers and really get your name out there. So that does depend as well. Okay. So the most important thing I can tell you with any type of content, so I'm going to be going through each platform now, how the frequency for each platform, but the most important thing about it is consistency. So if I tell you to do, say, two posts a week on Facebook, you've got to make sure you stick to that. Okay, so we'll talk about minimum and maximum you should be doing on each platform, but the most important thing is consistency. There's no point you going all out and spending 2 weeks creating 5 posts a week on a platform when the next 3 weeks you're too busy and you don't do anything. Social media platforms want to see consistency. They want to see content going out every week. So you've got to realistically think about what you can manage and stick to that. That's really important, which is one of the reasons why we do a content writing session on Zoom every Monday in the Social Flock to make sure everybody in the Social Flock is consistent. So that is one of the benefits of joining the group. And again, if you're interested in joining the group or want a little bit more information, just put a comment below. Do hashtag the Social Flock, and I'll give you some more information on that as well. Right then, so for the details then, let's get to it. Exactly how often should we be posting? Okay, so let's start with Instagram then, because Instagram's an interesting one, isn't it? That's one of the ones that's actually changed quite frequently. But Instagram is recommended. Again, I've looked at 2 sources today, Hootsuite and HubSpot, are 2 sources I've looked at today, as well as some other specific platform specific advice, and it actually varies quite considerably. But Instagram, generally speaking, you should be looking at posting on Instagram 3 to 5 times a week. However, Adam Mosseri, who's head of Instagram, actually in 2021 asked and recommended accounts start posting around 3 to 5 times a week, but also twice a day doing stories. So they're wanting to promote those stories. Okay. And a quick tip from me is if you do, if you're creating content, you can actually post that content, that post, and create it as a story. But generally speaking, Instagram is really focusing on stories, and that's going to get you much more visibility creating those stories than actual posts in your feed. Okay. So that's Instagram. Now, Twitter is an interesting one, okay? Twitter is fast and furious, okay? You can get away with posting between 15 to 30 tweets every day. It's fast and furious. They fit so much more in your newsfeed, in your tweets, in your Twitter newsfeed. Twitter will push much more content into that newsfeed. However, it means that content's not going to hang around for as long. So your tweets may only hang around for about 15 minutes or so before it's fallen down that newsfeed. So generally speaking, more is better. And this is the one platform where I would say quantity over quality is the one platform you can get away with this. Okay, so it's fast and furious. So as much as you can, but basically I would suggest certainly 2 to 3 tweets a day. If you are serious and you want to grow your following on Twitter, 2 to 3 tweets a day you should be looking at. But you can get away with more. Okay, certainly minimum of 1 a day. Okay, for that one. Now, LinkedIn and Facebook. LinkedIn and Facebook are actually quite similar. What I tend to find is that whatever Facebook tends to launch, LinkedIn's not short behind, and those algorithms tend to follow suit to a certain extent. So for both of these platforms, I would suggest you can get away with 1 to 2 posts a day. Okay. However, basically, and again, this is where some of the advice vastly changes, and the reason it changes across different companies, because it depends on what type of sector you are, whether you're business to business or business to consumer, whoever your clients are, whatever your sector is. There's no straight answer for this. But generally speaking, if you are a new business, new to Facebook, or an existing business who's got a large audience that you want to reinvigorate, you should be looking for certainly a minimum of 3 times a week, okay, on Facebook and LinkedIn. That's what I would always suggest. But you can get away with 1 to 2 posts a day. Any more than that, particularly if you have a small following, any more than that is basically potentially putting your consumers off, your customers, your followers, and it may lead to being unfollowed or not getting very much engagement. So that's Facebook and LinkedIn. And again, if you've got any questions, do just put them in the comments below, and I will come back to them, because again, not all of this is easy. Okay, right then, so we've got Pinterest, Google and TikTok to talk about. Now let's talk about Pinterest. So Pinterest is a really interesting one. This is where the advice vastly differs. So so one of the sources, so we were looking at Hootsuite, was saying once a week, whereas HubSpot is talking about 5 to 15 a day. So again, what do we go for? Now, when I've been working on Pinterest accounts, then I would always suggest that actually, if it's a new account, you want to be creating and putting your content up there quite rapidly, certainly in the first 3 months, in order to grow, because you need to get content on there. Pinterest is an amazing resource because, unlike any other social media platform, it doesn't actually fall down a timeline. So the more content you've got on there, the more potential to be found. It works much more like a search engine than any of the other social media platforms. So if you've got great content on there, it can hang around for months and still appear in the searches. So I would suggest, when you're starting out, certainly getting quite a lot of content out there over a short space of time, so you've got quite a lot of content on there. But then certainly looking at, I would say, if you can, 3 to 10 times a week on Pinterest. That's what I'd be looking at. But again, Pinterest is quality. You've got to get those quality images out there. You've got to think about the quality on Pinterest, because it's not going to rank high if people don't repin it or anything like that. Okay, so that's Pinterest. So we've got Google My Business and TikTok. Google My Business, then generally speaking, certainly once a week. Google, again, like Pinterest, is great because it actually hangs around for much longer. It's a search engine. So you can get away with just one post a week on Google and you will actually get quite a high visibility. Okay, so I'd be looking at certainly minimum on Google My Business once a week. But again, nice quality post. Think about those keywords, think about that search engine, think about what's going to appeal and how you're going to rank in the Google searches for that as well. So then finally, TikTok. TikTok is growing in popularity, but it's video. Obviously, TikTok is video. You can now create videos of static images, but basically videos. So videos, TikTok actually recommend 1 to 4 times a day. Okay. But let's be realistic. We haven't all got so much time to spend on TikTok. We may have a number of social media platforms we're juggling. So my recommendation, and again, industry recommendation, is generally speaking, if you want to grow on TikTok and you want to get seen, is creating those 3 to 5 TikToks per week, okay, as a minimum. That's the sort of quantity you'll need to be looking at TikTok if you want to grow your followers. I mean, if you're doing 1 to 4 a day, fantastic. It means you can really sort of get a feel for what your audience likes and what videos are doing well, and it will help improve your video strategy. But generally speaking, if you're on TikTok, I would be looking at 3 to 5 videos per week. So that's my recommendations on the frequency and how often you should be posting on social media. And if you need more tips and advice on content, then please do join the Social Flock. We talk about content all the time. We help people, make people accountable to get their social media content out there. We help structure. And then next week we have got Joe Watson, who's an expert on wording your social media posts, so that you can actually get a high reach. There's a lot of fantastic things that you can do with your social media text. Very clever ways that Joe's going to be joining me next week at 12:30. So thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you found this useful. Please do give us a thumbs up if you're watching, and please do give us a follow or subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And we'll see you again next week for more tips and advice on social media. Thanks, guys. See you soon. Bye.